Hi, this is Christina. This is our last sensory quadrant, and we will be discussing what it means to be a sensory sensitive individual. What is a sensory sensitivity? Individuals who can be described as sensory sensitive have a low threshold for sensory stimuli and a low behavioral response to the sensory stimulation. In our first module, milk example, these individuals' thresholds can be related to the milk pint. They do not require a lot of stimulation or milk to fill the jar, and when the level of input surpasses their threshold, it may become overstimulating. But they do not actively try to change the situation or the environment or their behavior. We will now look further into how sensory sensitive individuals may present at CCW regarding each sense. Individuals who are sensory sensitive to touch may overreact when they are lightly touched or tapped. This is because their perception of touch is intensified and they feel touch stronger than others do. These individuals might also appear to be agitated or become upset when asked to interact with messy art materials, although they may not exactly know why. Because of this, it's likely that they won't actually remove themselves from overstimulating situations, but they may display extreme discomfort when having to give hugs, handshakes, or even just sit in a chair. Individuals who are sensory sensitive to sounds may register noises more quickly than others, and may hear soft noises that are actually inaudible to others. Individuals that are sound sensitive may be hyper-aware of sirens on Lancaster Avenue, trains, or noises in the WAC or the ATF, such as the sander in the woodshop, the screeching of chairs on the floor, and doors opening and closing. These background noises may make concentrating on their work more difficult. Unlike sensory avoiders, who become overwhelmed by sound but will remove themselves from a noisy situation, sensory sensitive individuals may become overwhelmed and agitated by sound but not know how to escape the situation. As their staff, it's important to recognize the agitation and help them to decrease or accommodate for the noise around them. Individuals with a sensory sensitivity to vestibular input and proprioception often dislike the feeling of riding in cars. They may also become dizzy easily, from things like bending over, getting up too fast, or turning too quickly. But it's important to remember that this is different from a medical complication with low blood pressure. It may look the same, but the root cause is different. Typically, if someone has low blood pressure, changing body position causes sudden dizziness. For example, if someone becomes dizzy only when going from lying to sitting down, or from sitting to standing, this would more likely be caused by low blood pressure. However, if someone seems to become dizzy from many different types of movement, it would more likely be caused by a sensory sensitivity. Someone who is sensitive to proprioception might find pushing or pulling motions to be too uncomfortable or overwhelming, such as opening doors, opening cabinets, or any other activity that involves putting more pressure through the joints. They may also seem to become overwhelmed or upset when chewing something that provides extra pressure, like gummy candy or anything extra crunchy. When sensory sensitive in the visual category, these individuals may become frustrated when they are searching for something, like looking for a person in a crowded room or materials in an unorganized drawer. They may also become overwhelmed by fast-moving objects, such as passing cars or scenes that change quickly in movies or TV. The crowded scenery of museums or shopping malls can also become overstimulating to these individuals. In addition, bright lights, such as fluorescent lights or sunlight, may become overstimulating. Again, individuals who are sensory sensitive may not necessarily be thinking to remove themselves from overstimulating environments. As their staff, it may be helpful for you to initiate the process of removing them from the overwhelming environment. We will talk about how to adapt these environments in the How You Can Help section of this module. Someone who is sensory sensitive to smell might only use small amounts of deodorant or perfume. Since it only takes a little bit of stimulation for them to register it, they may think that a little bit is more than enough. They may also dislike being around others who wear large amounts of perfume, cologne, body lotions, or other strong-smelling things. They might become overwhelmed when in an environment where there are strong smells, such as the kitchen, the woodshop, or the screen printing room. Individuals with a sensory sensitivity to taste will typically dislike strong-tasting mints or candies, as well as spicy food. It's not that they don't enjoy these tastes, but to them a little bit of this stimulation can feel overpowering. For this reason, they may gravitate towards bland foods. With a sensory sensitivity to touch, deep, constant pressure is better than light touch, as it is less alarming and more calming for these individuals. For example, if you're trying to get someone's attention, rather than lightly tapping on their shoulder, use one single prolonged touch. Also, it's good to respect that these individuals may not want physical touch during greetings, like hugs or handshakes. Also, it's important to keep in mind that you may observe this artist having a hard time using a material. This may look like agitation, becoming annoyed, or being suddenly frustrated. If you see this, it's helpful to try to offer a different way of using that material. For example, if someone dislikes the feeling of holding a pastel, but they don't mind using ones that already have the paper wrapping, just be mindful to provide them with ones that have a covering. If this still isn't successful, try offering this artist a different medium to work with altogether. Someone who is sensory sensitive to sound might benefit from a limited amount of steps or pieces of advice at a time. It's also helpful to limit the amount of background noise in the environment and communicate using a quiet voice so that they're able to focus better. With individuals who are vestibular and proprioceptive sensitive, it's important to remember their preferences when selecting what trips to send them on. Think of trips that provide more calming and consistent movements instead of sporadic high-activity movements. If these individuals are engaging in higher movement activities, it may be beneficial to provide assistance that allows the individual to hold a leader's hand or arm, or allowing them to take frequent breaks throughout the activity in order to rest and not become overstimulated. High-energy movements can become overstimulating, but gentle movements like swaying back and forth can be calming. As staff, it may be necessary to suggest to these individuals that they engage in calming movements like rocking back and forth when they become dysregulated. When working with individuals who are sensory sensitive to visual stimuli, it may be helpful to cover or block out information that isn't needed during the interaction, so that they can focus better on the section that is relevant. In addition, when organizing their workspace or drawers that they use frequently, try to organize and display items in a simplified manner to help them better locating the items. Similarly, try to eliminate background visual distractions and place objects on a plain background to help with easier item retrieval. We hope these modules have been helpful in learning about yourself and others at CCW. Thank you for listening.